Okay, so those of you from YouTube, I am actually with the Christ Temple students. And so if you are joining us now, whatever I'm doing is just like a revision for you, because this is for Christ Temple student. It's not meant for you. So if you are joining us right now, then it is more like you are doing a revision. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so my friends, so these are the topical areas we are looking at for the analytical thinking. We are looking at the critical thinking in the information age, logic and language usage, introduction to analytical thinking, applied analytical thinking, good and bad reasoning. What is the goal of the course? So the goal of the course is actually to bring some corrective and diagnostic skill set to facilitate you and to be able to discriminate logically. Logically, you have to be able to discriminate logically between rhetorical displays that reflect interested motives and arguments. So first, you need to be able to discriminate logically between just talking, ordinary words, verbose outpouring. You should be able to distinguish between that and an argument. So if somebody is talking and talking and talking, it's not every talk that resembles an argument. And I believe that you've all been introduced to that. Yes. So that is about it. So before you say that I believe this statement to be true, first of all, you should have been able to distinguish logically between them and find out even if this is just serving an interest, a personal interest. For instance, I don't know, Ed, have you been introduced to fallacies? Have you finished everything on fallacies?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So you have gone far now. So if someone is committing a fallacy, you should be able to detect, you should be able to know that. Because fallacies serve personal interests. Any fallacy a person commits, a bias a person tries to commit, it is serving a personal interest. And that you should be able to overcome. You should be able to note so that you don't fall in for that. The aim is to help students in this course to develop and to improve their logical and analytical thinking skills. So you have to improve that. It does not mean that you don't have it. You have to improve on it. Every human being thinks and reason, but when you are left to yourself and to your own thinking and paradigm, you will always make errors. You will always create problems for people. So that is within an academic setting and to identify common obstacles to effective logical and critical thinking. So certain concepts will be illustrated with real life examples. So through videos, articles, interactive exercises, all of these are going to be used as interactively for the course. And then I have stated clearly that the course supports peer learning. So in my class, there is no wrong answer. So nobody can run down on anybody's response. The response anybody gives to me is okay. So if I say it's not okay, then I'm the one saying it. But no student has a right to heckle any answer. State your opinion. If somebody states a fact, you can state an opinion by first of all commending what the aspects that has been made available to you. If you think you have a problem, then you contract, but I have this reservation or I think otherwise. That's it. So discussions are very important, and that is why I'm encouraging you to share ideas right here on this class, on this platform. Okay. So these are the objectives, and there are three. Um, Tell good reasoning. So by the close of the course, you should be able to say this is a good reason, this is a bad reason. You should be able to construct chains of reasoning or argument that are logical and therefore more likely to convince people. And then you use logic, critical thinking, and argumentation in university context to improve academic results. So by the close of the day, you should be able to do well in your academics. You should be able to improve yourself greatly in your academic work. So these are the areas that you would need to actually focus on. So these are some of the materials you would need to read. Okay, I think I've not gotten there. Um, I've not gotten there. So the course assessment, this is to be like. You have class continuous assessment, and it is 15 marks. Final exam is 25 marks. So you have done introduction to computer already, which will be marked over 20, both continuous and final exam 20. The library studies 40%. I think they also have similar schedule like what I have with you. I have for you right now. So you write a continuous assessment constituting 15%, and then your final exam 25%. So this mark will be sent back and added to the library marks and then the computer science marks for you to get your overall assessment, which means that if you decide not to do very well in one of the aspects, it will affect your overall performance. So take note of that. So you have to pull yourself along, do your best as much as you can, then we move on. So the test I am using that you can also get access to, either you are purchasing or whatever, these are the texts that you need to make use of. So we have the critical thinking, a student's introduction by Bashan, and then Bashan, Iwin, and Nadon. The three of them, in fact, there are four Wallis. The four of them authored that book. And then we have critical thinking and problem solving by Butterworth and then Tweet. They actually authored this book for the Cambridge A level. I have taught critical thinking for Cambridge A-level exams. So I have a number of students who have read critical thinking with me from the Cambridge attached program, those who wrote A-level and the AS level critical thinking. Some of my students have just finished with their law programs in London. I just have one or two of them completing law from London. One I've just finished with her medical studies, also in London. One from China. I think she will be coming down this September also. So this was one of the textbooks that I used. And a concise introduction to logic by Halley. So I think you have access to the 2006, but you can get a 2016. But I use the very current edition, that is 2018. So that is what I use. And then critical thinking tools for taking charge of your professional and personal life. So those of you who need these textbooks, you can get them. If you don't get them in the library, I think you can get them even online to purchase. So they are available in stores everywhere. Right. So we want to look at critical thinking, starting with section 1, critical thinking in the information age. And we'll be concentrating on these areas. We'll look at definitional issues. We'll try to define critical thinking, and we'll try to look at who are critical thinkers, or who is a critical thinker. What can you see or use to judge who a critical thinker is? Why do we need to study critical thinking? What are some of the benefits? And then after we're done with that, we run down, and that's it. Okay, this is another quote from an anonymous writer. And I would like you, those of us from the Christ Temple, I would like you to share your opinion on this. So the critical and creative function of the mind are so interwoven that neither can be separated from the other without an essential loss to both. Hello, so let me hear from you. Yes.
I can't see the screen.
You can't see my screen now. Okay, then let me try resharing. Ed, are you able to see the screen? 7, are you able to see?
I can see now.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so that is the quote. It's coming from an anonymous source. And the anonymous source or the writer says the critical and creative functions of the mind are so interwoven that neither can be separated from the other without an essential loss to both. May I hear from you? What are your views? Christopher, I hope you are at a grounds that you can hear the noise. You are out of the noisy background, so you can. If you are, then please alert us so that you will make your contributions. We need to hear from you. Tevin, would you like to say
So
something?
please, I can hear you.
Okay, all right, then Christopher, go ahead. Share your views. We haven't heard from you.
So, okay, they said critical and creative functions of the manner. So the critical and then the creative functions that they are linked together, and then they can't be separated from each other.
What does that mean to you?
So it's like they work hand in hand.
Okay, thank you. Ed, Christopher, thank you very much for your submission. Ed, shall we hear from you?
Yes, please. Given that the main idea of reasoning comes with critical thinking and also being, like as it says, creative, both function at an optimal way. So if you take some sort of reasoning and without having a creative function, let's just say in one area, not knowing what this person is speaking about to make it into your own solution or finding an explanation to what they're saying, it could not make no sense to you. And you could simply understand, this is for the critical area, you could simply understand what the person could be saying, but without having the mental strength to like process the idea or concept could leave you both useless in having just one of the traits. That's why it says both are essential to work together.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, please.
All right. Okay, let's hear from Tevin. Tevin, I just see your hand up.
Earlier, we mentioned that
It seems you have a network issue.
has to do with solving of problems. Hello.
Okay, Tevin, it seems you have a network challenge. So if maybe you may wait for a while and come back.
Hello, please.
Okay, so if you're okay, then go ahead.
Okay. So we mentioned earlier that within analytic thinking, we reason to solve problems. And when you critically think, you also that's what you're doing. You're reasoning to solve problems. And from the word creative, in order to be creative, you are attempting or trying to make something new. And in order to develop something new, something new, that is like you trying to actually create trying to develop a particular solution to a problem. So trying to, in order to solve a problem, you need to think through exactly what you want to solve. So that's why I believe that the critical thinking and the critical and creative functions go hand in hand, because in order to create something new to solve a problem, you must analyze and basically understand it properly in order to solve that problem at hand.
Exactly. Exactly so. Exactly so. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So if you have looked into history closely, you'll realize artistic works by some individuals, whether they are scientists, whether they were musicians, whether they were keyboardists, whichever, you will see their works are lasting. Their works are generational. You can talk about Michelangelo, you can talk about Leonardo, Da Vinci, you can talk about a whole lot of people. Why are the artistic works and their music still living on? And today, you can have even PhD in these areas when these guys themselves have not even acquired any certificate. So it tells you that for creativity to speak to a generation and address a generational needs, it has to go through a lot of thinking processes. And because these guys gave time to consciously work on the artistic work, thought over it for long periods before coming out with whatever they came out with, or before making those things public. Today, after hundreds of years, their works are still speaking. Society is still appreciating those old artifacts, old music. Today, you can go, if you talk about Mozart, today, musicians are earning. Professors, people are becoming professors in Mozart music. You're reading Mozart notes. Well, this guy never acquired any certificate. That is why it is important to know that no matter where you find yourself, whether in the creative industry or with creative talents, you want to really create impact, you still have to go through thinking, the process of being critical. You can't separate any. So we can rightly state all of these guys that I've mentioned that they are critical thinkers. Think about innovators, think about inventors, and think about the survival of their works even to date. Critical thinking. It's about thinking. So if we will not be quick to dismiss thinking, but we will try to appreciate it and integrate them, and knowing the components, how to approach them from academic perspective and integrate them into our aspect of life, creativity, and etc., we can make an inroad, great inroad in our society. We can create impact. And even when it comes to academic work, it still needs creativity. That's why some people will talk and you'll find out, actually, I wish I would have one talking like that. The wisdom, the ability to speak to certain facts, issues, so amazing. So that is true. Thank you guys for your contributions. So we are looking at these issues. As we start, this will be our learning objectives, that we'll be able to understand concepts and terms used in critical thinking. And at the close of it, make some compelling case for studying critical thinking. Today, we have merits of issues that we are confronted with in our society. We can talk about globalization. Globalization, let me know from those of you from Christ Temple, is anybody reading marketing? Marketing.
Yes,
Anybody?
please.
Okay, so Ed is
Yes,
reading marketing. All right. Okay, so Ed is the only person reading marketing. Okay.
Because I'm also reading marketing.
Oh, somebody also reading marketing. That's wonderful. That's great. Congratulations. And who else is reading marketing? Okay, so the two of you are reading marketing. Now, the term globalization, if I have to go into it, you'll be amazed how it came about. It came basically about when American politicians were thinking about saving American jobs, American businesses, because marketing of products or marketing in itself, American companies producing goods and etc. for the international market and etc. and competition rising from Europe and from some Asian countries like Japan, South Korea, and etc. They were really confronted. So some of them were even getting out of business because American products were becoming very expensive in the international market. When those similar products could also be produced in countries like Japan, South Korea, where there was cheap labor, even in China. So something happened. The politicians saw that, look, we need to think through if we have to remain the champions of the world, because we have just gone through Second World War and try to maintain our dominance over the world. So in business-wise, we still also have to hold a kind of dominance. That was what was happening. And so they look at it and said, for us to survive, now let's try to find a way of making friends with the international community. Tell everybody, why don't we come together and allow ourselves to trade together? If we are able to trade among ourselves, we can trade here, we can trade here, we can trade here. It will help us to stop making wars among ourselves. We'll stop making war. We'll stop going to war. We'll stop fighting. And so the international community, countries began to accept this and began signing treaties and etc. This was the process of globalization. You see, It came as a result of thinking, careful analysis. And this has continued to benefit Americans. So as a result of globalization, American industries began to move out of America, began to move their production out of America to cheap places where they could have cheap labor, like China, like some Asian communities where labor was cheap to go and produce there. And then after they produce, they take the goods back to their countries and sell, which makes them stay competitive on the international market. So you see, there are many products today. If you talk about Apple products, they are all produced in China, majority. Today, India has also become another destination for some of these companies to manufacture, to do a whole lot and send back to their market. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So as I'm telling you, I'm pointing out to you the benefits of thinking. So all of these issues are changing the dynamics, the way we play our games on the international scene. So these complex issues are demanding that we have to think. You think about global warming today. We talk about pollution. We talk about all sorts of things. We talk about financial crisis. We are talking about pandemics, epidemics. If you talk about epidemics, you're talking about Ebola, pandemics like COVID-19, which continue to change our world today. Whilst COVID-19 is causing some people to think and to dominate the world, some people have remained at the receiving end, especially Africans. We have remained at the receiving end, always receiving, always wanting, always wanting. They should come and do us good. They should innovate the drugs and bring them to us. We should, all sort of nonsense are happening. Today we have information increasing on a daily basis. If you look at the amount of data that is produced a day, it's amazing. It's amazing. Since the arrival of data science, the internet and data science, so much information has been produced on the daily basis. Sometimes, even what I am teaching you right now, you can just try to Google what is this, what is critical thinking. You'll be amazed the level of information you're going to get. All of this is showing that we're having problems, because if information is being released, some of them are false, some of them are not correct, some are inaccurate, some are misleading. All of these are coming out. So if you are just somebody who think that everything published in black and white is good enough to absorb, you will be making a big mistake. So it is calling for critical thinking. Opportunities are rising on the daily basis. They are leading. We have competition rising on the global scene today. Advertise any job. Anywhere, you have people applying for it from any country. Any country. That is what we talk about. Global competition. Opportunities as they are rising. You need to think before you can even realize that this is an opportunity. Oftentimes, many of us are waiting for opportunities to come staring at us, knocking our doors and tell us, hey, I've come. I am called opportunity. Open your door for me. Let me come in. Many of us are doing that. So we are not taking advantage to begin to break our brains and allow our brains to work for us. We are not doing that. So it's causing problems. So all of these that I have just spoken about, you cannot forge a simple classroom design solution to address them, because they will not work. And classroom lecture notes and etc., you can use them to address this issue. They cannot even apply. So there is the need to actually develop or use the mind to its fullest potential to respond to these myriads of challenges society is facing today. If we refuse to use our mind, we're going to have problems. Our society cannot grow, we cannot develop. If you look at the Ghanaian and the African predicament, it is basically a problem of thinking. It is not a problem of not having money, because money has always not been there. It is people creating solutions that are getting the money. Value goes to people who create value. So if you are seeking for value, you need to create value. And value starts with the mind. How? You receive an information to your mind, you process it. In the first place, are we ready to receive the information? Very important. Very, very, very important. So the way out is that we cannot conceptualize our solutions on the basis of just using classroom solutions for them. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. And we cannot do that on the basis of our beliefs. We live in the part of our country and the world where prayer is everything. Prayer solves everything. But we finish praying and we realize that there are no solutions. Prayer has its place. But you cannot use prayer to substitute responsibility. You cannot use prayer to substitute for good governance. You cannot sit down and be practicing bad governance and tell us, let's pray for you so that God will help you. Help you in what way? God has not created a government. So how is God going to help you? So you see, irresponsibility and inability to think is what is creating our chance of problems in society today. So a very careful, rational assessment of reasoning would be needed. So a careful rational assessment of reasoning is what will be needed to ground our decisions in a forward-looking manner. This is why critical thinking has become important, or analytical thinking has become essentially important. So when we talk about critical thinking is everything, especially when it comes to university education. So in the university environment, or generally in schools, when we talk about thinking, we are talking about two kinds of thinking. We have the lower order thinking and then the higher order thinking. And we need to know which of these we need actually within the university environment. The lower thinking is what involves what you commonly call, or is commonly known, chew and pour systems, chewing and pouring. So merely or passively absorbing information, then repeating them in the exam. So as some of you in this class we tend to do at the end of the semester, you are going to absorb so much information, trying to chew and pour, then expecting that whatever you are chewing and pour, when you go to the exam, it should be what you will meet. And then you write it down and go. You'll be disappointed. Then we have the higher order thinking. The higher order thinking is what university education is about. And it involves active, intelligent evaluation of ideas and information. So please look at it. Active, intelligent evaluation of ideas and information. So you should be active in evaluating ideas. So somebody says something, you do not just stand up and say, I concur, that is it, I support it, it is worth it, that is good. Our class rep has spoken, that is it, we stand for it. This is where we have a problem. So you go to secondary schools where opinion leaders, or universities where opinion leaders rule the masses. And any foolish things that they come out with, they use it to control the rest. And this is what is happening in the political front. It is time we begin to actively engage ideas and information that are channeled to us. But it's not just being active, but being intelligent at it. When it's calling for intelligence, it's not just about knowing the fact, a set of facts in your mind. No, it's about your ability to get involved in whatever idea has been churned out to you, information has been churned out to you. Look at their pros and cons, and look at their disadvantages and advantages when applied in the short term and in the long term, how it is going to affect life. Then you are being intelligent, you are being active, you are being involved. So this is the environment that is created actually within the university for you to work on. So what it also means, is, yes, it is true that we use rote learning in a university, but that is not where the focus is. University education is about teaching students how to think, to become independent, self-directed thinkers and learners. So when you complete university, you don't go and say you haven't gotten a job, so you should join a graduate unemployed association. You can't do that. It will go against you. Right. So these are the things that we have to look at. So rote learning that is encouraged in the university is that one, you come across a new information. And before you can make use of that new information, you have to know it as a fact at the background in your mind. Let's say theories, definitions, and etc. You need to know them. Let's talk about concept of even force in physics or concept of energy in physics. First of all, you should be able to know what energy is by defining it, knowing some kind of arguments that pertain to that, theories that have revolved around what we call energy, the types of energy, and etc. Before you can then move on to the next level and apply it. So in the university environment, we assume that you know. So once you know, apply. And how to apply? First of all, think appropriately when you're applying. Use this methodology, and that is what we are in here for. So Albert Einstein says, education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. So you are not here to gather facts. You are here to be trained. What kind of training? It's not training your hands. It's not training your mouth. It's not training your eyes, but training the mind. The mind is the lifeline of yourself. And the mind is the survival lifeline of society. If the mind of a society is dead, killed, you have destroyed the entire society. That is why if you want to mislead a whole society to be backward, what you do is you offset their thinking abilities. You will help them to think wrongly. Over time, you will destroy the society. You will destroy their community. So the mind is the basis, is the survivor for everything. The mind. Martin Luther King Jr. says similar thing and tells us that the function of education is not for you to get first degree, right? And then a university certificate to get a job. That's not the function of education. Martin Luther says the function of education is not that, but rather to think intensively and to think critically. If you can think intensively, that is where entrepreneurial activities become the fermenting background of a society that is developing. If you are talking about the first world countries, how do they survive? They are surviving on basically entrepreneurship, innovation. They are students coming out from secondary school and bringing out innovations, entering into universities, dropping out, whether they are drop out, whether they finish or they drop out, they are coming out with innovation that are creating sustenance for their nations. That is what Martin Luther King is saying. That is the function of education. Teach one to think intensively and to think critically. So in this university, you have different kinds of lecturers. But I believe that the primary goal is that every lecturer is making sure that their students try to get information and utilize it in a particular way. Okay, so having said all of these, let me hear something brief from Christabel, Johnny, Johnny Square, 2 join. So Johnny, Sandra, let me hear something from you about what critical thinking. At what time can you say a particular thinking is critical and a particular thinking is uncritical? Can I hear from you? Okay, so I think I'll start with Tevin. Tevin, let's go. Yes, Tevin. Tevin, you can go ahead.
Yes, please. I want to say we apply critical thinking when we need results to solve a problem, or in order to like achieve a particular goal we're aiming for. We tend to like think critically and in a very structural manner, because in order to like gain certain things that are not like everyday decision making, if it's like very specific and like time driven, or you need to do it in a specific amount of time, or you need to do it in a specific way, you are expected to think critically in order to achieve, or at least get as close as possible to the aim.
That's good. Thank you very much, Tevin. So according to Tevin, thinking should be goal-oriented, should be focused. The thinking should be goal-oriented, it should be focused, and it should be structured. So if it doesn't meet that criteria, then it is not critical thinking. Thank you very much, Tevin. Let me hear from Sandra. Sandra, go ahead.
Okay, sir, please. I think critical thinking is done during decision making, like once the problem solved. And uncritical thinking is done during a discussion, like having a discussion with our peers and other friends. But we don't, it's not organized. Everyone talks at a particular time. And with that one, I think that, okay, that's how I feel.
Okay. Thank you so much. That is excellent. Yeah. Very, very, very true. Any other? Okay. I wish I hear from all of you. Seven, do you want to come again? Because I'm seeing your hand up. Okay. Christabel, anything? Yes, okay. Let me hear from Ed. Ed, you may go ahead.
Yes, please. So, in the form of critical thinking, it's more willing to consider, evidence being drawn from different people's conclusions. So, like, regardless of what others may think or suggest, it means like resisting the social pressure to like accept what they say instantly. Meaning you have to be careful with your investigation.
Yeah.
Unlike non-critical thinking, which is simply just answering yes or no, is too quick to
Yeah.
agree to others' validations and their own concepts and ideas without bringing any form of pressure or
Yeah.
decision making. You simply just go along with the flow.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ed. Don't go
Yes, please.
along with the flow. So if you want to be critical, then you don't go along with the flow. So anybody going along with the flow, then you are not thinking critically. Critical thinking should be skeptical. You need to test the evidence according to Ed. Any evidence that's provided, you need to be tested. So once you cannot test it, it becomes problematic. Right. Thank you so much for these submissions. I think my friends who have just joined us, if you have some contribution, you can go ahead and discuss it with us. Okay. Yes. Bernard, if you have any contribution. I know some of these things are just a revision for you. Okay. All right. So critical thinking as an academic discipline involves the ability to learn skills and be able to transfer those skills from one text or task or context to another. So it involves critical approach to reading, listening, and reasoning generally, and acquiring conceptual tools and skills that enables an individual to respond critically to a wide range of text. So as an academic discipline, you should be able to learn a skill and apply across board. For instance, you have been admitted to BSc Marketing or BSc HRM or BSc Management. The skills that you learn there, critical thinking says that they should be transferable. So for instance, you have functioned in that domain or you have learned the skills from this domain. You should be able to use thinking to transfer this if you should find yourself now functioning entirely in a different domain. So skills are transferable. Using the ability to think critically by reading, listening, and reasoning. And then there are some conceptual tools that need to be acquired. Once you acquire them, you'll be able then to respond to a wide range of text. When we talk about a text can be spoken, it can be written, it can be a visual display. So those of you who have joined us, who I asked to join us later, I think this is where I ended with you. And so please pay attention, take note, and then respond as well. Your contributions are very important. Okay. So when you talk about a test, that is what we are dealing with. We are talking about anything that is spoken. For instance, I am speaking to you, but at the same time, I am also showing slides which are written. It's a printed, though it's not printed, you can see. And then we have visual displays like acts. All of these, we say, need to be responded to critically. Not because somebody speaks very fine, nice, means that the person is actually thinking. You have to examine. Not that everything is written and printed in black and white means that it is good. No. Please, a moment. It looks like the head of department is calling. So let me pick this call up and get back to you. Thank you very much.
Guys, please, I think Sir Mike is around. Though.
All right, so thank you very much. So that is about text. And every text that is authored has an audience. A spoken word or a spoken text has an author. That is a speaker. And you, the listener, is the audience of that text. Now, texts are supposed to be true. They are supposed to be true. Any text that you are confronted with is supposed to be true. But sometimes some of these things are false. So you need to direct your critical thinking towards them effectively to examine if claims that are being made are actually right statements. And claims are made in arguments, information, terms, items of evidence, statements and assertions, explanations, dialogue, statistics, news stories, advertisements, etc., 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 political campaigns, etc. They need to be looked at critically. You need to examine them. If you don't do that, you'll be misled. Because if a person uses untrue statement and direct it to you, the reason the person uses it is basically to mislead you. And so if you are not thinking critically, you'll be misled. So critical thinking helps us to cut away, to draw ourselves away or to limit ourselves being misled by a predictor or whoever want to bait you with a certain level of thought. So when you talk about critical thinking, the central issues include what we call analysis or evaluation of the text. Okay, analysis of the text or interpretation of the text, the evaluation and further argument. Now, I want to discuss this into some details. Now, when we talk about these central issues, analysis, then we are talking about your ability to identify the key parts of a text. The key parts. So you pick a text and you'll find out that part of the text is not relevant. You can only do that when you have the conceptual tools to analyze that, when you have the mental skills to do that. If you don't, you will not be able to do that. For instance, you can come across an argument that seems to be an argument. And really, probably it seems to be an argument, but it is not an argument. You will need to analyze it closely before you can do that. So analysis says that you need to identify the key parts of the text. Where are the premises and etc.? Where are the conclusions? Then you reconstruct it in a way that fully and fairly captures its meaning. So this is how complex arguments are attended to. You will come across complex arguments. They are not written in forms of premise 1, premise 2, premise 3. No. A complex argument can be a whole speech that has been delivered, probably by the president. And the president's speech are always running for about 1 hour and so 1 hour and 10 minutes, 1 hour and 15 minutes, 1 hour and then 20 minutes and so. And sometimes right after the speech, you can download the speech from any online, anywhere to be made available online. You can download it. Now you've downloaded it and you look at the volume of pages, is so much. Sometimes about 20, sometimes about 30, sometimes about 40 pages. And you will have to analyze it. And in analyzing, you should be able to read the entire document and say, okay, these are the premises and these are the conclusions. But you would have read the entire document to be able to do that. This is what we call for. These are the skills that you need to learn. So as you are studying now, textbooks are recommended to you. It is not every part of the textbook that is necessary, that is important. But once you know how to think and utilize your reading abilities effectively, as you are reading, you know the information that is important for you and the ones that are not. But it is not everyone that knows how to do that. There are some people. Once you give them a textbook and say, okay, we are reading from page 1 to page 40, you will see them copying almost everything, word for word. In fact, a whole notebook will be full because they'll copy everything. They don't know what is important and what is not important. The reason is simple: inability to analyze, which also shows that you cannot think critically. Now that you have been able to analyze, you have to do evaluation. Evaluation now helps you to know how successful is the text. So when you talk about the success of the text, first of all, you'll be looking at the meanings that have been conveyed to you. Do terms that are conveyed in the text really mean what they are meant, what they are given to mean? You find out. That is when you are doing evaluation. So do they mean the same or they mean something else? You evaluate it and say, okay, the meanings are clear, there's no ambiguity, there's no vagueness, there's no that. Then you can go ahead and say, okay, the argument is good because you have the conclusion being supported by the evidences that are being offered. Or the argument is strong as a result of A, B, C, D. So you have done effective evaluation. So you cannot come across a piece of evidence or a piece of information and take it as, hey, that is it. You can't do that. You can't do that. You cannot just say it is good, so I concur and let's go forward. After you've done that, then you cannot state your own argument. On the basis of your analysis and evaluation, you can go ahead to say that, yes, this is my response to this argument. Looking at this, I think this is logical, given this scenario, given that scenario, given that scenario. And then you bring in your personal examples to reinforce the claims that have been made. So further argument is very important for you in this class to develop your critical thinking skills. But sometimes we often tend passively to accept claims because they confirm our biases. We try to be dismissive of those claims because they do not conform to what we already believe. If you do that, you are not being a critical thinker. You are not being critical. So accepting an information on the basis of what you believe is problematic. This is the problem, or this is what gives rise to what we call religious intolerance. Why is so much religious intolerance in our world? It is because we try to assess or validate people's claims on the basis of our belief. And when you are talking about religious intolerance, you can think of Islam, you can think about Christianity, you can think about Buddhism, you can think about Hinduism. All of these are persecuting themselves. They persecute others, they persecute other faiths that do not seem to parade what they believe. If you do that, you'll be creating problems. Because if you look at even the Bible in general, there is nowhere anybody has been forced or has ever been forced to accept anything about God. No way. Which means that God himself gives room to reason. He gives room to reasoning. So I think in the book of Isaiah, when he told the people of Israel, come to me and let's reason together. Come to me and let's reason together. And I think also in the First Peter also, chapter 3, verse 16, when he talks about handling truth with sufficient reasoning. So reasoning is really encouraged at all levels. So we cannot be passive and be dismissive. We cannot just confirm things on the basis of our biases or become dismissive of them because they do not conform to what we believe. That is uncritical. You have to listen to people, validate whatever they are saying on the merit of what they are saying, on the merit of reasoning, not on the basis of belief, but on the merit of reasoning. I think I have seen a hand up. Okay, Sandra, let's go.
Sir, please, sorry to come in, but I think we have an exam this afternoon.
Okay.
And it's past the 1 hour too, so.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Walk. All right. So then you can sign out. All right. Okay. So
Thank you.
welcome. So this is how it is. Once you are thinking, your thinking should be clear. So what should be our attitude when we are thinking critically? We should be fair and open-minded. We should be active and informed. We should be skeptical and we should be independent. Fairness is very important. Open-mindedness means that you are not closed. You are not just going to judge things on the basis of what you know, because it is not everything you can know. That is why right from the beginning of the class, I said, it is not everything you can know. And nobody knows everything. And I, as a teacher, I don't know everything. So because I don't know everything, what do I have to do? I have to be open-minded, because an aspect can be brought to me and I realize actually this is very important. A comment can be made and quickly I'll learn something from us. Yeah, that is it. So these are the issues. All right. So those of you, especially from the Christ Temple, you can sign off and we'll continue later as I continue with those at the mutual campus. Okay. All right. Let me hear from Tevin. Tevin, I've seen your hand up.
No, I was just about to say, I was about to say the exam is actually for every morning student.
Okay. It's what? It's for.
It's a 1.
Oh, 1. Okay. Okay. But it's 12 now, so it means that you can go and prepare for it now.
Very much, sir.
Okay. So we'll continue from where you have ended. So Christ Temple will continue from where you have ended now. Okay. Thank you. So as I continue with mutual student to finish briefly. Okay. So you need to be active and informed. When you talk about active, I've mentioned that informed means that you should be widely read. Widely read. You should be widely read. You should be skeptical. Skeptical now talks about don't just be quick to accept information. Try to weigh it. Don't just be quick to say, yes, I believe it. I support it. Don't be quick to do that. You have to weigh the issue. You have to weigh them. You have to evaluate them. You have to be independent-minded. Means that you are not controlled to believe that. You are not going to follow someone. You need to have a clarity of thought. You need to be clear. Your thoughts should be clear of these issues so that the understanding will be strong. Confidence, insight, integrity, curiosity, intellectual humility, and perseverance. These are the attitudes that we need in order to be critically minded, or to think critically. Critical thinking can further be defined as a disciplined thinking governed by clear intellectual standards. It can be defined or further defined as a disciplined thinking governed by what? Clear intellectual standards. And some of these intellectual standards include clarity. Okay? You need to be clear. Whatever you write need to be clear. Whatever you say need to be clear. Clear of what? Ambiguity. Clear of what? Vagueness. Should be clear. Should be consistent in your thought. So I spoke about consistency here. It's an intellectual standard. So if you are developing your mind to become the kind of person that you need to be by churning out a solution from a reasoned background, then these tenets, intellectual tenets, mental abilities should be key. You should consider them or utilize them efficiently or effectively. Consistency, precision. It should be precise, go straight to the point, accurate, relevant. How relevant is the issue? Or you are just saying something abstract. Thinking should be relevant. And whatever you are reasoning, whatever outcome you are trying to decide through your reasoning should be relevant to the issue. So we shouldn't be talking about human human issues, problems related to maybe food or to shelter and etc. You are talking about something on the moon. You're talking about astrology, or you are talking about space travel. Should be relevant to the issue. Logical correctness. We should seek to be consistent, not just consistent, but systematic in our approach. We should make sure that we are logical and make sure that our premises well support our conclusions. Completeness. Completeness does not entertain sorites, omissions, being deliberate about not reasoning completely, omitting premises and conclusions. We don't do that. We need to be complete. These are the intellectual standards that needs to be inculcated, need to be taken seriously. Then we'll talk about fairness. When you talk about fairness, many a times it looks like the term fairness is not understood. I will encourage you to read around it. But fairness brings the idea of one, don't judge people on the basis of your belief. Don't judge people and their argument. You don't do that. Be fair to them. Yes, it is true. What you have said is true. Or the argument you have brought about is valid. But I think it is not sound as a result of A, B, C, D. Or it is not cogent as a result of what? A, B, C, D. Be fair. Be fair. Don't be outright dismissive, and don't be too conclusive in accepting to confirm your bias. Fairness is important if we want to think intellectually and we want to be capable in doing that. Critical thinking involves the act of what? Analyzing and evaluating thinking with the view of what? Improving it. As we have spoken about the key or central issues in critical thinking, which involves analysis, evaluation, and further thinking, I'm still reiterating for you to understand that this is what is important, so that if you finish analyzing and evaluating the thinking, you can improve it. That is, if there is a problem with it. Critical thinking also involves disciplined, self-directed thinking. That is when we talk about the independence. That meets appropriate intellectual standards within a particular mode or domain of thinking. And we know the intellectual standards, which we have enumerated in the above. Thinking that commonly displays intellectual skills, abilities, and traits, meaning that you will not behave unintellectual. If you are trained to think, you have gone through university and you are doing anything, you are solving a problem, you are responding to social issues. The basis of you going to university is to learn how to think, which means that whatever you are doing in your thinking, you should display those intellectual skills. It should be there, which we have mentioned. So critical thinking also involves thinking about your thinking while you are thinking in order to make your thinking better. So it means that it is not everything you think that is right. Okay, it is not everything you think that is right. Sometimes what you're thinking is wrong, but your ability to think about your thinking, you think through it again to see that, hey, what I'm thinking, is it good? Or what I am saying, what I have thought and said, is it good? If it is not, you can quickly go back and then make it clear or clarify, make it accurate, and make it more reasonable, and so forth. Very important. Again, critical thinking involves self-guided, self-disciplined thinking that attempt to reason at the highest level of quality in a fair-minded way. So, as a critical thinker, you are self-guided. So whatever you are saying, you are aware, become aware. There are people who say that, oh, I didn't think about what I am saying. No, as a critical thinker, you have to think about what you are saying. Be guided, and be guided that you can make an error. Making an error will help you discipline yourself or discipline your thinking, and making sure that your thinking is at the highest level of quality and in a fair-minded way. You will not be biased, and you will not tilt towards a particular order. So then, who is a critical thinker? First of all, to evaluate who a critical thinker is, I want us to look at some misconceptions about critical thinking. Now, it is a misconception to say, I am able to support my belief with reason, so I am a critical thinker. It is not true. It is not true. Because it is not every reason you give for your belief that makes it critical. What about if the support you are giving for your beliefs are wrong supports? So then can we say that the critical thinker should use wrong thinking to say he's a critical thinker? So there's a problem. That's why it's a misconception. Critical thinkers do not imitate others in thought or action. It is also a misconception because critical thinkers don't know everything. If you're a critical thinker, it doesn't mean that you know everything. It means that people have also made materials available to you to analyze, to think through, and to find their pattern of thought, and even adopt some part of it as an actionable dimension for whatever you are doing. So critical thinkers, if you say they cannot imitate others, there'll be a problem. Because you here, you are quoting others, you are citing people, you make reference to people. Whatever you are saying, you try to make reference to other persons in order to continue that. Critical thinking cannot be learned, that one either has it or does not have it. It is also not correct. It is a misconception that critical thinking cannot be learned. It is either you have it or not. Why is it a misconception? What about if whatever you think is a fallacy? Then does that make you a critical thinker? Rather, you become mistrusted. Nobody will trust you because of that. So, having said all of this, I just want to bring to you a few qualities of who a critical thinker is. One, critical thinkers are able to communicate clearly with others. They are able to communicate clearly with others. They are able to raise questions about the problems, analyze the given data, and arrive at a conclusion in any topic, whether in maths, whether in English, whether in science, or etc. That is what I've told you. Critical thinkers are able to think from one context and transfer those skills to another context. So you don't need to understand a particular subject sufficiently before you are able to make contribution to it. That is why critical thinking encourages reading, effective listening. Because once you can do that, you will be able to gain adequate information to deal with. Again, a critical thinker or critical thinkers are able to use recognized standards for evaluating the results. When we talk about recognized standards, for example, if you say an argument is valid, you should know the standards governing a valid argument. If you say an argument is sound, you should know the standards governing a sound argument. If you don't know the standard, then on what basis are you evaluating the particular argument as good or as bad? That is why I said you are able to use to recognize standards for evaluating result. In other words, you are able to check all parameters involved for validity or strength. So the parameters that will constitute a valid argument, the parameters that will constitute a strong argument, they are able to check all of that. They possess intellectual clarity in understanding the problem. So we know some of these intellectual standards already. So they possess that. Okay, they possess that in understanding the problem. So they can assess and form an opinion and then check answers to vital questions without fear or favor. A critical thinker is also able, or critical thinkers are capable of gathering information independently. So it is not what people tell them. There are some people, when they are gathering information, they are waiting for an informant to come and tell them something. As a critical thinker, even if you have been given information or other people have given you a clue, you don't need to reside on that. You don't need to depend on that clue and then form an opinion or make a judgment. You should be able to gather the information yourself independently and make your analysis independently. It is not because somebody will hear something and go and gather small information. Once it confirms with what they know, they stop and say, they said it. You can't do that. You are not a critical thinker when you do that. Critical thinkers also understand how to change their viewpoint to adapt to thought patterns that vary from their own. So as a critical thinker, you can hold a viewpoint for over a long time. Then you will realize that somebody has a certain pattern or other persons have other patterns that are more better, okay, that are more correct than yours. You can change your viewpoint and adapt that. But if you are wrong and you still will stick to your wrong pattern of belief, then there's a problem. Okay, so a critical thinker can change their viewpoint or his viewpoint or her viewpoint to adopt a thought pattern or thought patterns that vary from their own. Number 6, they also possess the skill in asking appropriate questions. It is not every question you can ask because some questions don't even demand answers or responses. So you have to learn the skill in asking questions. Very important. I think I have a text, a material on that. I may try to send it to you so that you can make use of it effectively. Critical thinkers control their mental activities. They have learned how to take charge of their thoughts, to use their minds actively as well as passively. They control their mental activities. So you take note of that. They are honest with themselves. If they don't know, they will tell you they don't know. So they are able to acknowledge what they don't know, and they are able to recognize their limitations, and they are watchful for their own errors. So if you are not a critical thinker, all of these doesn't concern you. You will not be honest with yourself. You will not acknowledge that this I don't know. You will not acknowledge it. Even your limitations, you will refuse to recognize it. And to watch out for your errors, you will never even orient yourself towards it. But critical thinkers do that. And they regard problems and controversial issues as exciting challenges. So whenever there's a problem or there's a controversial issue, critical thinkers are happy. Why are they happy? So that they will be able to exercise their minds on those controversial issues. They also strive for understanding. They keep curiosity alive. They remain patient with complexity and are ready to invest time to overcome confusion. So you look at it. They are ready to invest time to overcome confusion. So those of us who are learning certain courses and then within a short time, we're heading. heading. It's difficult. So you are not prepared to make time for it. Those are the people who try to chew and pour every document to write exam and pass. Don't do that. You need to strive for understanding. No matter how long it takes you as a critical thinker, you need to strive for understanding. They also base judgment on evidence rather than personal preferences. Evidence. Evidence is always important. If you go to the court, any judgment that will be or prosecution that will be admissible for interrogation are done on the basis of the evidences that have been offered. So sometimes a prosecution can be thrown off, or the prosecutor can be told your prosecution or your document do not merit any attention, then they are thrown off. Okay, so you need to have evidence before passing judgment. So they can also revise judgment when new evidence reveals error. Today, there are many laws. Those of you who are interested in law, legalities, there are many laws in the world today, especially with the United Nations, with the Human Rights Courts, international, etc. Many laws that were made in the past that have been reversed. They have been reversed on the basis of new evidences that have been offered. And sometimes when they are reversed, people who suffer damages are now re-awarded certain reparations. Very important. So critical thinkers can revise judgment when a new evidence reveals an error. Critical thinkers are also interested in other people's ideas. So that is why it is incorrect to say that critical thinkers don't imitate others, because they are interested in other people's ideas and they are willing to read and listen attentively, even when they tend to disagree with the other person. They do that. They also practice restraint, controlling their feelings rather than being controlled by them, and thinking before acting. There are those who will never think before acting. Why? Because they have not restrained their feelings. Feeling is not a good ground for passing judgment. So we can't use feeling to do anything, and we need to watch out for all of this. They also recognize that extreme views are seldom correct. Sometimes in a class, you can have very extreme views. They can be positive or negative. And oftentimes, as it is posited, they can be incorrect. Oftentimes, they are incorrect. So they avoid them. Critical thinkers avoid extreme views. They avoid extreme views. And then they practice fair-mindedness, and they seek a balanced view. Please note that critical thinking depends on mental disciplines. And so as an effective thinker, you need to exert control over your mental life. When we talk about being an analytical thinker or a critical thinker, it depends on your mind. So if you don't exert control over your mental life, you will not be able to direct your thoughts. Rather, your thoughts will be directed. Your thoughts will be directed by the things that you are going to be endorsing hastily. Why do we need to study critical thinking? So I post, or I give you a famous quote from here, that is from Howard Kahane. So citizens who think for themselves, rather than uncritically ingesting what their leaders tell them, are the absolutely necessary ingredients of society that is to remain truly free. Do you want a society that will remain truly free like Ghana? Then it is important we allow ourselves to learn how to think and use thinking effectively, reason effectively to respond to all of our problems. If we don't do that, we are not going anywhere. So if you have a society which does not encourage thinking, but which often would chastise people who even think or are independent-minded, and there's a problem. We cannot grow as a society. So we study critical thinking basically for these issues. One is because we are constantly being given reasons to do and believe things. Okay, so to do and believe things, believing things involves what? Doing and believing things involves what? For example, believing that we should buy a product. When you get yourself to any TV station or to any radio station, or you go online, any social media platform, there are merits of reason being given to you to buy something. Buy this book, buy this laptop, buy this, that, buy this shoe, buy this cream. The ladies, especially, most of our ladies are always overtaken. So oftentimes they are in financial constraints. They are always troubled. Their spirits are immensely confused because of some of these things. They do not analyze sufficiently before buying. Reasons have been given. Reasons have been given you to buy something. As a critical thinker, you need to evaluate it. Why should I buy this product? What problem would this product really solve for me? Do I really need this product? Okay. Don't I have anything similar to this? Is it satisfying a need or a want? If it is not satisfying a need, then I think I don't want it. Are we able to do that? Okay. If you are not able to do that, then there's a problem. So this is why we need to study critical thinking, so that we'll be able to evaluate some of these issues. Because of this, the reasons that you are being offered to buy a TV, to buy a phone. There are some people, they don't even get food to eat. They are on campus, they are starving with Gary, yet they want to own iPhones. Then they don't even ask themselves, what do I need an iPhone for if I get it? What exactly am I going to use it for? Is it for calls and then for interactions on social media, or what? You need to assess this. If the reasons are not enough, then you have to desist or resist yourself from being tempted to go to the extent of owning it. So there are people who have owned things, and the things they have owned has become curses to them. All right. So you are being given reasons to believe, or to giving reasons to believe something or to do something. It is either to support a cause. Oh, we are going to do A, B, C, D. We want people to work. Have you evaluated it? Do you know the dangers involved? Afterwards, what will be your image? Will it enhance your image, or it will damage your reputation? There are many people who don't care. They accept all kinds of associations, friendships. They accept all kinds of things. And then eventually, it begins to eat into their reputation. It destroys their reputation for life. Please watch. To accept a job, judge someone innocent or guilty or in the court of law, that fairness requires us to do somehow social and so on. So all of these are the reason. So we are studying critical thinking because of this. Okay? Because of this. Assessing the reasons we are given to do or believe these things calls upon us to begin to think logically and then critically. No matter how clever or educated we are, or what our walk of life is, whether you are a politician, you are this, you are that, we can all easily be led astray by common psychological obstacles or reasoning fallacies. Very important. So if you leave yourself to yourself without learning, without preparing yourself, without thinking, you'll be misled. You can easily be deceived. All of us are prone to that. So I won't say that this is my student's problem. It is not true. It is a problem involving all of us. So critical thinking is important. Critical thinking is very important, is a very important subject for consideration when we are especially referring to thinking as a conscious mental process performed to solve a problem, make a decision, or gain understanding. It makes it important. Since we need to study all of these, there are so many other things that when we are able to learn critical thinking, we avoid For example, we will not commit fallacies, we will not fall for biases, and etc. What are some of the benefits for studying critical thinking? The first one is a classroom. It enhances our classroom performance. Your classroom performance, because you'll be able to perform well in the classroom, in your lectures, in your academic work. You'll be able to do well. So in the classroom performance, you are able to understand the arguments and beliefs of others. You are critically evaluating those arguments and beliefs. You are developing and defending your own well-supported arguments and beliefs. So it enhances your mind. It enhances your abilities. So when you are approaching any text, you are approaching examination issues, you are going to stay on top of the issue. Critical thinking cannot make inherently difficult material easy to grasp, but it does teach you a variety of skills that with practice can significantly improve your ability to understand the argument and issues under discussion. So basically, I am saying that if you can think, you can think critically, it does not mean that very difficult text you come across, very difficult issues you come across will become easy. No, it will not become easy. But rather, critical thinking has made available to you all the skills you need to analyze, to evaluate an argument. And then you'll be able to bring in your own opinion. That is the further argument. Be able to do all of that. Number two, critical thinking also improves your thinking and communication skills. It improves your thinking and communication skills to meet changing workplace realities. Today, or gone were the days when you finish a university and then you have a certificate and you could easily secure a job. Those days are gone. Today, the world economy has moved on to a certain level. It's okay, let's team up together, work together. That is why you have associations being formed on a daily basis. Now look at Russia now attacking Ukraine, which the Western world say Ukraine has not offended Russia. So why should Putin and his country go and then into war or go and attack Ukraine unprovoked? So then let's team up together, encourage Ukraine, support Ukraine to repel Russia's aggression and isolate Russia and weaken even Russia's political government or economy. You see, why is these things happening? It is because the world economy has moved to a different level. We team up to do, we team up to win. So these days, you cannot come out of the university without having that skill, team spirit, team ability, team skills to work along with other persons. You are going to have problems. So to succeed effectively, you need to begin to know some of these things and how to work along with them. So it streamlines your thinking process. Critical thinking does that for you so that you'll be able to think effectively and communicate effectively in the workplace. That is why when you are today, you are looking for any job, one of the skill requirements is that, can you think critically? Do you understand analytical thinking? So they will invite you now to come and take a test, something like an aptitude test, to think, to test you on all of these components, on critical thinking, on analytical thinking, on team, on communication skills. All of these are tested. So right from the word go, once you understand this issue, you become well integrated from the word go. So critical thinking, so it is central to the development of the world knowledge economy. And today, the world is trading knowledge. The world is trading knowledge. Can you imagine when Russia attacked Ukraine? Ukraine has no ability to match the second most powerful military country in the world. Ukraine, just a very small country of 44 million people, 44 million people, going to match the second most powerful military country. believe Russia is more like a continent on its own. Going to match such a country, my friend, that is not for joke. I was thinking that within 3 days, Russia would have destroyed the whole of Ukraine. But you see, what undermined Russia's ability to do so was because of the knowledge the Americans have, and they trade with Ukraine. And so they are able to give real-time information, real-time knowledge information to Ukraine and say, this is what is going to happen, this is what is going to happen, this is what is going to happen. So match them like this, match them like this. That was how they were able to repel Russia, drove them away, and Russia retreated even from attacking or from really taking over the capital city, that is Kiev, of Ukraine. They retreated and went back, reorganized themselves to attack the eastern part of Ukraine. Knowledge is the word. Knowledge is the winning economy today. So please, if you are educating, it's not about the facts you are coming out with. It is the knowledge you possess. So it requires to improve your, it helps to improve communication. It encourages and then improves creativity. It encourages and improves self-reflection. It provides a basis for scientific development. Critical thinking promotes learners who can solve problems, think creatively, gather and analyze information, draw appropriate conclusions from data, and communicate the ideas clearly and effectively. The third benefit of learning critical thinking is that it improves your lives. All of us, our lives become improved, and we are able to make or function adequately. For example, critical thinking helps us to avoid making foolish personal decisions. So if you want your life improved so that you can make your life choices efficiently, you need to think. So when you learn how to think, you'll be able to avoid that. You'll be able to avoid making foolish personal decisions. Sometimes, let me tell you, I've also done that before. You meet a lady with a certain class of body, appearance, structure, and then a certain pretentious way of talking, and you say, this is her. She's the right woman. She's the right lady. Let me go in for her. You carry problem. The same thing applies to the ladies also. You meet a gentleman physically. He's astute. He's good looking. He has all the physical or the physiques. They are all available. Everything that makes a man looks good is available. And then you jump around him. This is the perfect man. You have problem. You have problem. There are some people who are pushing their monies into certain businesses that they should not. You have problem. There are certain people, instead of trying to find some small businesses for their money, they are going to lodge their money in a saving account. And in savings account, even the whole year, no matter the amount, the most you will get even will not get up to 10 cedis. The most you will get. So why don't you invest your money properly? Or look for some rewarding businesses to churn your money, to invest your money into. There are many people who don't understand that. So they are making the choices that are wrong, and it is affecting them. Either they are making wrong marriage choices, either they are making wrong choices for career, wrong choices. Some of you have actually chosen the wrong programs for yourself to do in the university. And you know that this is not what I want. You know yourself, you know that I don't need this. But because you have also convinced yourself that my friends are doing it, my friends are there, and I know people who have made it, so I will also make it. That is not true. Because people making it is based on a number of factors. So for you to make it is based on a number of decisions that you have to make. So if you send your decision making criteria in thinking effectively through, you have problems. You will make choices that are not relevant. So you are able to regularize your purchases. You will not just be buying things on impulse. You regularize your purchases. There are some of you who buy certain foods that you don't even need. Foods that are even not good for your blood, your systems. You go and buy them. Some of you are allergic to certain products, but you have not researched on yourself. You have not even taken the pain to know your blood groups, your genotypes. And if you know your blood group, your genotype, you will go further to go and investigate on certain foods that are good for your genotype or your blood group. You know, if you are able to do this, there are certain sicknesses you will never fall for. Let me tell you, I am one person who take particular interest in what I eat. And as a result of that, I search for food and I eat food based on my blood group. So if it is not good for me and it is something that will irritate my system, I shun it. I go away from it. I won't say because it is good, it is nice, everybody is eating it, I must eat it. No, I need my health, I need myself, I need my strength, and I should be capable in going forward, right? So you'll be able to regularize your purchases, your relationship, like your relationship as you have it now, and personal behavior, or to think about important life decisions more carefully, clearly, and logically. It also serves as a basis for democracy, and by these, citizens can make well-informed decisions to be as deliberate as possible. That is what will help us to be even voting for the right candidates or people to be leading us politically. It also helps us free us from unexamined assumptions and biases of our upbringing and our society. For example, one of the unexamined assumptions that we have in Ghana is it's actually regard who we marry, who we marry. Oh, where dear, oh, he's a kwewu, she is a kwewu. We don't marry the kwewus. She is an Aigbe, he's an Aigbe. We don't marry the Aigbes, that is the Evers. We don't marry them. So you can't go and marry from there. These are unexamined assumptions. You have to examine the assumptions closely and find out why should it not be so. As for us, our businesses, we don't allow these tribes to work in our company. You need to examine those assumptions. So critical thinking helps free us from these unexamined assumptions and biases of our upbringing and our society. There are merits of them. So having said all of this, I will bring my class to a close by, in summary, by telling you what it is. Broadly, that critical thinking consists of making informed, evaluative judgments about claims and arguments. The main strands of critical thinking are what we have just discussed over and over and over and over: analysis, evaluation, and then further argument. Critical thinking is characterized by being fair, open-minded, active and informed, skeptical, independent, etc. These are the attitudes we need to possess in order to remain thinkers who think critically. Critical thinking is beneficial in improving classroom performance, workplace thinking and communication, and enhancing our personal lives. And on the whole, critical thinking qualities can be cultivated through training and learning. And anyone can acquire this skill, including you who is learning this. You can acquire it. Thank you very much, my friends. This is where I will end, or I will draw the curtains down. If you have a question, please ask as we bring the class to a close. Thank you very much. Welcome. Any question, please? All right.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, I would like to ask if we will be having assignments on the analytical thinking.
No, you'll be writing an exam rather.